Hello, friends. My name is Steve, and we're here today to discuss The Fade Out, and I'm trying to not lose my voice, but this book was just so much fun, and I like to hang out with all these really awesome people, so here we are. But The Fade Out was by Brubaker and Phillips, and I remember reading the first volume or so back when it was released, and I don't think I ever finished it, but wow, what a fantastic book. So we'll talk all about it. Robin, will you start us off with an introduction?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. My name's Robin. I have a YouTube channel called Bookends and Biscuits where I mostly talk about sci-fi but have a foray into fantasy. And now I guess also graphic novels. So yeah, really enjoying these reads with these people, and particularly this one, Fade Out's awesome so far, so very excited.
And Chris.
Yes, my name's Chris Moen. Have a YouTube channel. Sometimes even post on there. Sometimes even appear on other people's chats. And first time reading The Fade Out, and I concur, this was a marked step up even from Kill or Be Killed or Night Fever, wasn't that the other one that we did?
Mm-hmm.
This was fantastic.
And Jared.
I am Jared. I run the Fantasy Thinker YouTube channel, and I do occasionally talk comics on there. And I am he of the single issue Fade Out episodes.
All right. Jesus.
just have to show off.
I gotta show him off.
He's an OG fan. Okay, I get it.
It's so beautiful, and it's such a great series. This is a reread for me, and I really was reminded how much I love this series. So good.
Jared, did you buy all of them individually, like one at a time, or did you buy the single ones?
As they came
really?
out
I think
a month. I was already a big Brubaker and Phillips fan before these started. As these were coming out, I was already a fan of those guys, and
I felt like I would have enjoyed having it monthly, just the anticipation of the next one coming must have been quite cool.
It was great. And as I stated in the last podcast, the single issues had articles about certain Hollywood actors and stuff like that, little insights into some of the Hollywood's goings-on at the time. And there was articles about Jimmy Stewart, Clark Gable, and some unknown people too that you might not have known about, mysteries that unsolved about people who may have disappeared mysteriously, and few articles about the rampant drug use during that time in Hollywood, and all stuff that kind of ties into the themes of our story here, and so really neat stuff that I think is only available in the single issues unless they put it on a website or something like later on, but I'm not sure.
I find myself saying there's a lot of people that I know that I don't want to say don't take this format seriously or don't think they could get into it because they think capes and cowls and that kind of thing. So I'm curious, Robin, as fairly new to graphic novels, were you surprised with it's just overall with the delivery, with the presentation of the story? Did it surprise you, or was it about what you expected when you were finished?
No, it really, really did surprise me. I think mainly because of that. I don't. It's not to say that I don't think that they do good stories, but I feel like I expect it to be less because it's a more of a visual format. But actually, this was really good. It did keep me guessing. I know maybe some other people may have guessed the ending, but I certainly didn't. And the way it leads you through it was just as entertaining as it would have been reading a mystery book, if you get me. And I was quite surprised by that. And having the visuals was just sorry, I'm getting distracted by Chris, but but having the visuals was just like an added bonus. And it's such a stunning, I know we said again before, but it's such a stunning just everything is done beautifully, and it just adds to it. So no, I didn't think graphic novels could be like this. I think it's my outcome. So yeah, I was happily pleased with this.
I think this is this creative team is a good team to recommend to people who are new to graphic novel. I think they're more I don't say adult because that sounds like it's graphic, but it's they take themselves seriously, in other words. So I think it's a good starting point for people who aren't familiar with it.
No, definitely. I think it's a really good place to start. It definitely makes me want to read more of them. So that's good.
So it was by the end it was a little bit bleaker than I was expecting it to be. I don't know. It's kind of, what did everyone think?
The last page in this just makes me laugh because it's so bleak. Yeah. There's no happy ending at all. It's just that last page of just he wants to scream but he doesn't. It's just like, I think that's a perfect ending. I thought that was excellent. Because you expect it to kind of take an upward swing and it just doesn't, but I don't think it needed to. So yeah, that was my opinion anyway.
Yeah, I think it's the ending actually just ties into perfectly into everything that has been going on the whole time, because every single time at the end of an issue or at the end of an act, it was like Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, every time you get lured into the sense that he's getting somewhere, that the main Charlie, the main character, is like discovering something and getting into oh, look at it, I found this out, and
yep,
we're gonna do this, and then he gets crashed upon. Gil does something stupid and messes something up, and he takes 2 steps back from where he was feeling like emotionally, and then that gets stomped on, and so this ending kind of reflects how he wasn't getting anywhere with this, and when he finds out the stuff he wants to find out, it's just a kick in the gut, and and it's not the finding out of it wasn't the resolution that he wanted. It only made it kind of worse, and that's just seemed to how the whole story went the whole time. Every time he thinks he's getting in a better place, it's not a better place, and it ends up, the information he does get ends up making his situation worse, and it's almost like he's Charlie Brown and the football just get taken away every time.
No, it's good.
It's sort of in keeping with both the time period, but also the idea of who's good and bad in this world. The fact that Hollywood as a seedy underbelly is sort of played with, I think, right throughout all the issues, but then ultimately when the resolution, that the person that you feel is the ultimate bad guy ends up being a sort of good guy in the end of the day, or the person just trying to hold it all together, I think. So
absolutely.
Lovely kind of way of which you kind of expect him to meet a sorry end in some ways, Charlie, because the amount of meddling that he's done, etc., and yet he's just sat down and went, this is just the way shit is. This is just what happens, and I can't tell you what happened, but I can guess, and I can make a relatively good guess, and my job is just to kind of lay that out on the table for you. But it in its own way created its own really satisfying ending, and yet not one that you weren't expecting the whole way along, which obviously is very powerful. Yeah,
the turnaround with Brodsky, it's like, like this is issue 5. You have that cover of him with the brass knuckles and the mean look, and he's such a bruiser, and then at the final scene in issue 12, he's just the poor sap at the bar, just doing everything he can to keep everything together, do what he's got to do for his job. These demanding studio heads that are trying to cover everything up, and he's laying it out to Charlie like, look, dude, I understand, but this is the way it is, and there's nothing you can do about it, because it ended up, the whole thing where it ended up being the FBI who's the problem. And
that's why it works. It's kind of that kind of, actually the puzzle didn't lead to anywhere. It was just kind of realistic and awful. Like, what was he expecting to find?
Yeah. Do you think as readers we wanted something to nicely tie a bow on top of it? Is that kind of what we want? We want a resolution, and stories like this we don't really get when it's just life is shitty.
But you did get a resolution. You found out, well, you kind of, I guess, maybe not definitely happened, but you're told what happened. So I think the resolution is there. You find out, like, why she died, who killed her. So you get that kind of resolve, and that kind of allows them to, again, not have the happy ending, because they did close it. You did get your finish. It just wasn't a happy finish, sort of thing. So I didn't feel unresolved or unhappy with the ending.
And it's still also, like, historically accurate to a large part. Like, a lot of the things that did go to McCarthyism, etc., that came along during Hollywood at that period definitely did happen. People were blackballed, people were taken out of the line at that stage, and that because that became the resolution, it sort of made it fit in a lot of ways, because, okay, that makes sense. And to put it alongside, like, I don't know about anybody else, but I definitely had the feeling that there was always a question as to whether Charlie actually did it himself. You know, because he has this memory block, he wakes up beside the body, etc. It's always still a possibility. So to find out that it isn't him is actually, I think, what you're looking for in the story, and giving you some hope for him to go forward with.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, just the whole tone of the story as it was setting out, I was not expecting a happy ending. Just how it was all presented. It had that film noir feel to it, you know, and that those films I never expected a happy ending when you were watching those old film noir films, and so it had that feel right off the bat, like you were going to get, but it also had that feel that there was going to be revelations, there was going to be some insight into why she died the way she did, and what was gonna come about because of that. Like, we, the reader, were gonna know. We were gonna be in the know. Like, we're part of that secret society now. Now that we found out, we're all part of it, and there's something, you know, wrongly thrilling about that. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, definitely. I think did anyone get the feeling that maybe he was going to die at the end, like that was going to be like the ending? I felt like maybe that was where it was leaning to at some points. So
Poor Gil didn't make it.
Yeah, poor Gil. Oh.
What a way to go, right?
I'm sorry, the way he just leaves her outside, leaves him just outside the house and doesn't even think about it. Just, oh my god.
It's his face, though. It's his face and the kind of blanket around him, you know, it's just...
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And the artwork's so powerful. It's so... like, it's hard to explain, because it's not... the artwork is so powerful, it draws you in so much, but it doesn't... It's not like, you know, it's not like the flashy, you know, there's a lot of like the highly detailed line work that you get from some artists that's like, it looks like it took them 3 years to finish one page, you know, but it's so powerful that it draws you in and gives you everything you need to picture that scene in such a beautiful manner. It really is. It's hard to put into words how Sean Phillips makes you feel on that page. It really is.
Yeah, it's not flashy, and like I'll always compare everything to Gideon Falls at this stage, because it has some centerpiece kind of pieces of artwork that you could show anybody and go, look at this. This is stunning on many levels and all that kind of stuff. But this play is. I think one of the things that he does very well is create a real sense of individual character between people that are sort of similar looking, if that makes sense. So, like, there's lots of characters wear glasses in this world. Some of them are different styles of glasses, but then the cut, and everybody sort of feels like they have their own thing. It's even between Val and Maya, and I think this is one of the points of Val and Maya that Charlie's drawn to. They are very similar looking characters, but each has their own distinctness to them, even though they are broadly the same archetype. And that kind of flashing and using that similarity is very prominent in it, but it is also kind of used as a compelling thing to drive it forward. To, again, give you this idea that there's more going on there than actually is going on. This create the possibilities in your head and all of that kind of stuff, and using the artwork to play with that. And like I said, there's something really compelling about the artwork and the way it's drawn through in terms of storytelling, in terms of framing, or whatever way you want to put it. You just kind of go, it pulls you through the page.
I couldn't imagine the direction from Brubaker to Phillips to say, create 2 blonde Hollywood bombshells, right? But make sure you can tell them apart in every panel. It's like, oh, okay, that's not a hard task at all.
I like when Gil and Charlie have this plan to go into the house, and they get about 50 feet in, and the plan goes out the window.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Our body in the tub.
But back to your point, Robin. I didn't think Charlie was ever going to die, because he's kind of our point of view. He's kind of almost a narrator, to a point of the books. And but the threat, I didn't think he was going to come to a great end. But I didn't think he was going to die per se.
Yeah, fair.
He was definitely under threat, though. You feared for his safety without necessarily worried about him dying. I think that's definitely fair. Especially when they got recognised coming out of the house. At that stage, you kind of thought,
but anybody,
he's going to end up in jail or something.
Anybody else was fair game. Like, anybody. I was worried about them all. I was worried about Melba, Dottie, Gil, and all the rest of them.
I thought Dottie was a wrong one. I thought Dottie was a wrong one for a lot of the book offs. She seemed to know too much about everybody not to be involved. I was sort of disappointed she wasn't a wrong one.
She was just a side character.
I think Charlie, is it worse than death? Because he's just like almost like a slave to the system now. He's
how is he not going to drink himself to death after this?
True. Yep.
I mean, he's doing a pretty good job. Yeah, he's doing a pretty good job so far. Like, he just needs to continue on the same train, and away he goes. But how's he going to survive as a career writer now without Gil? That's basically, he's in the system, and we never really got to the root of his block or anything. The really core of it. But
wasn't it
stuck.
Just he said it was the war experience that had blocked him.
Yeah, but it was. I thought that was going to be another thing that was going to be revealed, and he'd be released from it. Sort of towards the end of the book, to kind of give him more of a future, or give him a purpose and writing, and that didn't happen.
No future. No.
He just seen some shit and couldn't get over it.
No.
What did you guys think of the big reveal about him and Gil's relationship? And basically just why it was the way it was. I thought that was really, really interesting.
Yeah. You kind of get the feeling that something was going on between Charlie and Gil's wife.
Yeah.
Didn't seem quite on the up and up, but I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
No, that was weird, wasn't it? I think the thing is, even as they described at the front, what she described as Gil's amazing wife in the actual front bit, and you're like, oh, okay, that's a weird way of like putting it down. But yeah, to find out that they had, I guess I guess they had an open marriage,
but he didn't need to see it. I mean, that scene with him passed out and then with his eyes open, I was, but this is a bit creepy.
Why didn't you go to another room or something? You're right in eye shot. It's like 10 feet away.
Yeah. I mean, I imagine she's seen him passed out so many times without ever waking up that she probably didn't even think about it. But that's what I'm guessing.
And they'd all been drinking, so.
Going on. And he did. He kind of hinted at it in the first 4 issues too. I mean, he really played her up as a special person, in his life. And, so, kind of makes
Charlie
sense.
had a lot of special people in his life. He seemed to do all right for a guy that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh my god! I was looking at it and I was like, what? Thinking about the relationships he had with all of them, which were all awful. But it just felt like all of these women just wanted to fix him. Like he was that guy that you could just fix. That's what it kind of felt like. And it just, I don't know why he was so, like, why these women wanted him so badly. Like, but you learn from his perspective. I was like, he doesn't seem like a good guy.
Even the girl he didn't remember, who gave him the note.
Oh, I loved that. Yeah. I loved that bit. I loved the way that we were I felt complicit, because you see her in the panel earlier, and then you don't know who she is because you don't know that she's Tina, and then later on you find it out, and I felt like, oh, you could have known. They didn't tell you, but you felt like you should have known. Like even you'd forgotten that who she was. That was done very well.
But do you not think part of the reason that they ended up with Charlie was, I mean, it was a couple of reasons, but he was also not in front of the camera, which was very much the fake part of their life. So they kind of assumed that he didn't want from them what other people wanted from them, which was a bit of their stardom or otherwise. He was there on set, already working there. And especially in Maya's case, she wanted Charlie to fix her. She divulged an awful lot of herself, which is, I'd say, probably the biggest reason which we come away from him thinking he's a bit of an asshole, because he doesn't care about her problems at all. The things that she's revealed to him about that she thinks are from the very bottom of her soul, these deepest, darkest secrets, and he's like, I can't even think about that. I don't care. And you know, it makes us hate him a bit less, but it also gives us an insight into those kind of broken women and the things that they had to do to get the position they were in. It's all a bit sad. Like you just come away from the whole thing feeling it's so hollow and sad, and then to see a couple of panels next on flashing the engagement ring for the cameras in this very grandiose style of putting on an act for the sake of her career and for the sake of somebody else's career. It's like, oh, yuck.
I kind of thought of Charlie, like the women who would kind of attach themselves to him. I kind of felt like he was still in the, like they felt like they could use him as a stepping stone to, he was still adjacent to the people who were successful. He was still somewhat like a gateway for them, or they were still in the scene. They were still around. That he was
still important.
Yeah. So do you,
absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know if any like, so I don't know. I don't think he cares.
But we did get a lot of very prominent sexy time scenes in it, like in a way that I nearly had to double take it and go, why was there a need to put this in here for a start? Like it's quite erotic in a lot of ways. It doesn't seem to fit with the dark nature of everything that's going on, especially be so explicit, but you know, okay, this is something.
I think they might be added in just to show the like the casualness of it. Like it was very in like closets, and you know they would forget who they were with the next day. It was kind of like business as usual. It wasn't anything that was out of the ordinary.
Some of those panels are very erotic.
Chris was clearly blushing while he was reading.
I was a little bit, but again, it was one of those things. All right, and you're kind of, because I think a couple of them have no words in them, and you tend to look at them, kind of brush them over, and go on the next panel, and then you get another two panels later, and you go, "Did I see what I thought I seen?" And then you go back and look at it and go, "Okay, this is." And I was trying to think genuinely, like, why show that level of graphic detail, because it hasn't been part of the story, if you know what I mean. It wasn't part of his relationship with Val, even further on down the line. Even they didn't even do it with Melba later on. It's just that key scene with Maya, and it was like, okay, the two of them escaped away, and they obviously were trying to portray that they were having repeated intimate relations, but they did that with the text. I was like, yeah, I thought it was interesting.
I don't know. It felt to me like a movie, you know, those scenes, and I think it kind of emphasized her level of stardom over the rest of his relationships, you know, because he didn't. I know he had a relationship with Val sort of earlier, but I don't think it got to that level, and I would say that's kind of what it represented to me, and it you know, when you saw it in that manner, with that level of detail, their you know, their intimacy, it made you want to be with that star, she's big now. She's in the spotlight, but for us, it was a spotlight of intimacy with that character, and it was, and whereas he couldn't have that with when she was actually in the spotlight, he couldn't have that, and so I think it just was meant to bring that out.
That's a really interesting point, because actually you couple that with the things that she does say to him about how intimate she is with him in terms of her past, etc. She was there for him as available to him in a way that she probably, or we as the reader would be expecting or not to be, because she was the big star and he was kind of this writer, but she had given herself over to him both physically and emotionally, wholly, and he basically shunned her, at that stage, and we're kind of left to wonder, what are you doing, you idiot?
Yeah.
What are you playing at here? Get out of your own way, and you could have.
And there's a lot of that. There's a lot of that getting out of your own way. It's not just with Charlie, but with Gil too, because, of course, we've seen how self-destructive Gil is, and so I love how Gil is the one who is the impetus for a lot of the action that goes on in the story, because Charlie was like, wait a minute, what are you doing? Because he started the blackmail thing, and it wasn't really a blackmail thing. It was just a poking the bear in a cage thing, really, and so which is hilarious the way that came about. Dangerous, but hilarious all the same, and I thought that was beautiful how the story unfolded in that way. It was just great. And I love how Gil's, you think he's envious a little bit, about Charlie, maybe with his relationships and with some of the movie stars and stuff like that, but you find out he's not really envious. He's just he's kind of bitter in a way, and that quote from Dashiell Hammett when he's talking to him, which was great that the story included, that famous author of the Maltese Falcon, and the quote was, "Rich men are greedy, but their real currency is secrets," and that was just like, what a heavy theme of this whole story, really, and it was just perfectly placed. And to have Dashiell Hammett deliver that line was just, that sent shivers up my spine. I was just like, oh, that's awesome.
Which was at the point I thought, Dottie is dirty, because she's the secret queen.
Leave her alone.
I've seen Basic Instinct. She was the character in Basic Instinct. That's all I'm saying.
There was another one that I had to tab, but it was "The Past is the Knife, Charlie. That's what I think."
Yeah. It's very good. Very cool stuff. A lot of great lines in here.
Wasn't there, okay, I might be misremembering this actually, because the other one wasn't it talking about the reasons why people drink and who they become when they drink as well? And they had the two different versions of, I can't remember which way around it was, like one thought it was you became the real you, and the other one was like, no, but you don't, you can just do things you wouldn't do normally. And I thought that discussion was quite interesting as well, about which side everyone falls on. Does alcohol just make you become more you, or does it make you someone else entirely?
Let's see.
Cheers.
Everyone's just holding up their drink. I'm just holding up my cup of tea, you guys.
I'm drinking tea here, so
I mean, you tell us it's tea, but again, those are both myself and Jared are drinking out of glass receptacles where you can see what we're drinking, and you guys are hiding it.
I'm drinking peppermint tea. It's very delicious.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think in general, though, I think a lot of that drunk versus not drunk side that a lot of people do, it just gave basically every character another side to them. It created this really rich characterization in basically everybody, because it didn't just present a one archetype individual at any stage. Everybody always had multiple facets of personality about who they are, who they could be, and then decide which was, we're not sure who is responsible or bad. So there was potentially another side to everybody that we didn't know at that stage, aside from the old man, who was obviously a creep from the start, from the very first time you seen him. He was pretty much pegged, but then he didn't really have too many lines other than "Come here, girlie," and "Ooh, I'm dead." But everybody else had this multifaceted personality. Again, that's what made the revelations about Charlie and Gil and their relationship kind of even more rewarding when they gave that issue over to that, to kind of say, okay, this is where this comes from, and this is rich, and this makes sense for where they are, and also why it sort of wouldn't infringe on their working relationship or loose friendship that they had either, you know, because it was an agreement between Gil and his wife, you know. So the character work was just fantastic throughout the entire bit.
Yeah, and it wasn't, and you love how it wasn't just this like blanket bland agreement between them, because they fought, like, you know, they fought over this stuff. They fought like brothers, and they, you know, they weren't like passively happy about their arrangement. You know, there was friction there, but eventually they came through for each other, except when Gil got killed. You know, but
oh yeah, that he left him in the car overnight.
But
his dead body.
Apart from that, though,
but they stuck by each other, you know, over the times, you know, over the years, and you know, so there was a real actual friendship there, despite all the arguing they did in the actual fighting they did, you know, and that made Gil's death, you know, that much more tragic.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of a scumbag, though, right? I mean, aren't Gil and Charlie and everyone? It really isn't. Aren't they all? Maybe except for the Scarlets, like everyone else is kind of a scumbag, right? I mean,
well, there's scumbag.
They're all part of the system.
Yeah, there's scumbag, and then there's scumbag, and there's different levels of scumbag.
It's true.
You wouldn't last 2 seconds in Hollywood,
scumbag?
Steve. You're too nice. That's
I don't know. Depends on who you ask, but I did like the bit about the FBI agent who got involved and who got wrapped up in that whole thing, and he just kind of went, I don't know if he went rogue, but he just loved it. Like he's like, this is great. That was
Yeah,
pretty
he
neat.
did kind of. Yeah, he did kind of go rogue there, didn't he? Because it's essentially like when undercover police officers end up being way too undercover and all those kind of things. It was exactly kind of like that, wasn't it, basically? Like he just found his own little empire that he could play around and get all the awesomeness from. So yeah, I didn't like him. He was a major scumbag.
But he looked like a lovely fella, and I did love that scene where he visited his conversation with Charlie in the bathroom, and actually what was going on, and used that as a framing device for actually when he figured things out, what that conversation actually meant in terms of, you know, rather than the casual conversation that it seemed, what was actually happening there.
Very cool.
You thought Dottie was in it? I thought Dottie was like the only, like, she was like the close character. She's just kind of the involved in everything and yet not invested or not indebted to anyone. She kind of just, I don't know.
But in my world, I'm like,
she's doing her job.
But in my world, I'm like, why do you need that? Why does that character exist then? Like, what purpose do they serve narratively within the story? I'm always looking for the character that doesn't need to exist, that you write to do something with later on down the line. I think we talked about that in something else, like having a character that has to do something. We're talking about True Detective, that's what it is. The character that you have to keep in the background all the time, so that by the time you get to the end of the series, they do something, and it wasn't, oh, we just introduced them as an episode ago. And to me, that's who Dottie was. I still think this is the direction they should have taken. It was right there.
Well, she's your red herring, I guess. You know,
Yeah.
she does help Charlie out, because she catches Charlie going into Brodsky's office there, searching around for stuff.
I think she was just there to kind of show the sort of things that happened as well. Like, she was the PR spinner, she was giving you framework for the kind of world that they were in, I guess, and the different things that they had to do to make it appear like starlight versus real life sort of thing. So I feel like she was a bit of framing for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And she she would ask the questions to Charlie that he was too emotionally involved to ask. Like, she would say stuff like, so there's a picture of a kid in the file, so what? And stuff like that. And so she was kind of his logic foil, I guess. As well as warning people away from things,
Why? Maybe I'm going to end up answering my own question. Why was she warning Charlie off Maya rather than the other way around? Maya should have been warning Maya off Charlie in a lot of cases. Is it just because Maya was just going to move on and outgrow Charlie in a lot of ways with the things that she had to do, subsequently did with their engagement, etc.? She was very insistent on it.
Yeah, but I feel like first of all, you get the impression that she likes Charlie, because there was that whole date not date thing. So from that standpoint, she's not going to be like, Maya, don't take my boyfriend. That would be awkward. And I feel like she's protecting the starlet, isn't she, essentially? That's her job. Like, so she's not going to protect, like, it's the other way around what her job is.
Well, she's PR. That's her job.
Yeah.
And she knows that Maya is going to be required to eventually hook up with somebody who's also a star, so that the studio can use that publicity to make money. And so if Charlie gets too emotionally involved, attached, he's gonna be broken. He's gonna be heartbroken, or he's gonna be cast aside, or whatever. And that's her job, is to warn Charlie off of her. That's her.
So many things going on in this.
That's her purpose, Chris.
Yeah.
It's what made it a lot of fun. Like, to be honest, it made it so compelling because anything could happen at a certain point, and exploring those relationships, and especially those interrelationships, where you wanted some resolution and payoff that, which I think is what made the Charlie Gill chapter so special, which made an awful lot of that. And again, to kind of the point earlier on, we've talked about this for previous read-throughs. Some things I would have been frustrated reading month to month, but this one would have been terrific to read month to month. I can only imagine, especially like when you get that Charlie Gill one, you could kind of look at that and kind of go, it takes me out of the story, but at the time it must have been so rich, and kind of go, oh yes, okay, this actually makes me want to go back to the real world with this new information and actually see how this plays out a little bit more, and getting that bit more character development. Would be very satisfying.
No, absolutely. I think the monthly, as I said at the beginning, I would have really enjoyed having these monthly, because it would giving you time to like ruminate on the possibilities, like we kind of did with the first one, and kind of work out what each character's, and give you that time to go through those and come up with ideas. It's just one of those ones where it's a proper like fun mystery to think about and discuss. So it would have been quite fun to have that monthly, I think. Not that, as I said, I really enjoyed reading it all in one go, but yeah, having a little bit more time to go through it, I think would have really worked.
Yeah, I think when I did originally read it that way, the anticipation factor was off the charts. It was probably the number one book I was looking forward to, my weekly polls.
Yeah,
and but I think it was just designed so well by these creators that it was meant to be that way. And I can see with you guys having the collections now how you would not want to wait and would just want to keep reading, and because but it was designed as a monthly release, and you can see it in the story beats, you can see it in the way that each issue ended with a certain hook and clue and tune in next time type of feel, and the issues were designed as to be read to those 22 pages to immerse you into that section of the story, and it's I can't praise this one enough. It's so good.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
For sure.
What did you guys make of the back the flashbacks of Val in the woods with the with the old man being creepy, but also of her knowing where she was and like almost growing up in this place.
Again, extra characterization that we probably, again, some you might say is superfluous in terms of character development because she's already dead. Like we don't really, but it just gives you that kind of thing of, again, there's more at play here than just her life in Hollywood. In much the same way as Maya's Mexican heritage. Okay, there's more going on there. They interfered in that, and again, this idea that if the old man did this to Val, then he did it to maybe more people, or more people come along, and especially when you come along and see the guy out of the jazz band, then come along and again fill that in the background and say, actually, yeah, I grew up and that kind of thing. That's shit went down there, like that's thing. Again, it's that richness of character development that in some ways you could say isn't needed, but actually adds an awful lot more. Oh boy! So they actually created a still of them all together.
Yeah. That was
very nice.
The Crazy Kids Christmas card. They have like that little flashback picture at the end of one of the issue 11 there, and it was kind of almost a that whole situation was kind of almost like a farm system, really, for Hollywood talent, but that they had to go through that farm, which was, Mr. Old Creepy Guy's place, the producer there, and it just because you heard there are rumors of that kind of thing that actually happened back then in Hollywood, and it just shows that Brubaker seemed just to tap into everything, all the mythos and all the bad mythos that went into Hollywood during the late 40s and 50s. He really just grabbed all of it. He tapped into everything. Yeah.
I'm a little bit surprised that it leaned more into the World War II PTSD elements. I know they leaned into a little bit. I think it's kind of always there, but I was a little bit surprised it didn't, because I think the first few volumes leaned it a little bit more, and then we kind of get away from it. But I think I wondered if that whole generation is a little damaged from that whole experience, from something so significant that they had to live through, that contributed to the debauchery.
Yeah, that's
No, definitely. But I think as I said earlier, I think that's where they end it, though, isn't it? Because that's where because basically at the end, the whole discussion is about the hearing Japanese bombers but not doing anything about it.
Right, yeah.
And then him
right.
saying that maybe it's Hollywood actually burnt down and he's now just living in a delusion. So it kind of brings it back to having the PTSD from the war.
That's true.
And how that fills into it. But you're right, we kind of left it for a bit in the middle after they kind of brought it in to kind of go through all the other craziness that was happening in Hollywood and why. But they do bring it back to that kind of theme at the end. But yeah, messed up a lot of people, I think.
Nice. Anything else you guys can think of?
There were a few articles in the backs of these things about Hollywood on dope and how much drugs played into all these stars' lives. Cary Grant was addicted to methamphetamines pretty much all his life, and was Judy Garland was fed barbiturates and amphetamines ever since she was 13 years old, in order to give her highs and lows when she needed it, in order to push her into better performances, and by her own mother and other family members, and that and she died early because of that. And so there's a lot of articles in the backs of these individual issues that detail a lot of that stuff, which was fascinating as it tied into the whole mood and tone of the story, and made you wonder what, like those kids on that farm, maybe it made you wonder what they had to go through, what they were given, beyond the obvious implications. And so it really it ties into the tragedy of what could have been going on during that time period, and it ties into the tragedy of Val's demise and how it was covered up by the studios, and what could possibly happen to Maya going forward. We don't know, and she ended up with a star on her arm, getting set up by the studios, set up by Hollywood to be this perfect marriage for the papers and for the tabloids. And you don't know, we don't get, that's towards the end of the story, so we don't get a sense of what kind of tragedy might be surrounding that whole setup, and because it's not any kind of true love marriage, it's a setup thing. And so all this stuff is really just a fascinating picture of the whole situation.
No, it is awesome. It's obviously like the whole two sides of don't believe everything you see, absolutely, because you've got this beautiful starlets doing all of these wonderful things, and behind it you've got fake marriages and drugs and paedophile rings and just drinking all over the place, and PTSD, and everyone just putting paint over everything to make it look wonderful. So no, it does a really good job of just portraying just all of those things and how they fit together to make Hollywood work at that time. So yeah, really, really interesting, very enjoyable. I think just the discussions we've had, Jared, and everything else, I've learned a lot about old school Hollywood. Never knew before. Yeah. So yeah, it is interesting and slightly terrifying that it's based kind of somewhere in truth as well. So yeah, fascinating.
And hopefully we've learned the lessons, and hopefully things are better now.
Oh, for sure. Well, for sure.
I don't know.
Yeah, hopefully they are.
What lessons have we learned? Never always know your limits and know who the people who are too attractive for you and not attractive enough for you. Stay within your lane. That's what I learned from this. Look at yourself.
I think I found my learning is find myself. Is it Brodsky? Is that his name?
Brodsky.
Yeah. Just find myself one of him. You'll be sorted.
Robin wants a bit of Brodsky. Okay, that's a takeaway. Sure.
Okay.
Cleans up all the messes. Cleans up all the messes, and apparently is not too bad a guy.
Make sure you have a personal Brodsky.
Interesting.
Yes. Anything else you guys can think of? Yeah, it was fun. Let's decide what to do next.
Oh yeah. So, I'm just looking at Jared right now. Yeah. See what he recommends.
No pressure.
Yeah. If you want to stick with Brubaker, you probably would want to go to their seminal series that they started, Criminal. Yeah, that's very good. Or you could do...
keeping for Steve, it has a deluxe edition as well, so Steve does like a deluxe edition of things.
Killing me.
Yeah. And then there's Fatale. That's another series by them. It's very good. If you want to venture out of Brubaker, we could always do. I know Swamp Thing was brought up and Sandman was brought up. So.
So I'm going to go away and Google all of those, and then I'll tell you where my vote lands.
Yes.
I would like to do at some stage, and I know not everybody's a fan here, I'd like to do Saga again. I know it's still ongoing, which makes it sort of problematic, but...
it's big too. It's long.
It's big and long. So we could do like a couple of trades, put it away, and then come back to it. Because it could go on till the day I die, you know?
Yeah.
In some way. And I like Paper Girls. I'm going to throw that out there. I do like Paper Girls quite a bit.
Yeah, that was okay. Saga's better, I think. But
yeah, I would agree with that.
Awesome. Well, until next time, Robin, where can people find you?
Sure. They can find me on YouTube at Bookends and Biscuits, on Twitter or X at Bookends and something probably similar to my YouTube name, and on the page sharing forums as well. Although I'm more of a lurker there. Yeah.
And Chris.
Lurkers are welcome. We clarified that this week. You know, lurk away. That's definitely. Yeah, my name's Chris Moon. You can find me on the YouTube channel. You can find me on the page sharing forums, or you can find me on the Speculative Speculations podcast as well.
Yes, lots of podcasts. And Jared.
yes, I am also on the Speculative Speculations, and I'm on a YouTube channel, The Fantasy Thinker, and also on page chewing forums as well.
Yes. I'm also on Speculative Speculations. It's a good time.
Started.
I know, for those of you who think we gushed about the Fade Out, go listen to that podcast and you'll hear us rant and rave about things we don't like.
Yeah.
So, the exact opposite.
And things we do like, to be fair.
And things we love, yeah. So it's a good mix. Yes. So, well, thanks everyone, and we will talk very soon. Have a good day.